elected officials, dignitaries, and members of the general public. Today, well, before I proceed forward with this public hearing, let me first introduce the members of this committee. To my immediate right is the Vice Chairman of this committee, Senator Victor B. Hoko from the Pershing Toy District Volta. And next to him is the Vice President of the Senate, Senator J. Q. from the 3rd Senatorial District, Saipan. And to my left is Senator Carl Nevers from the 2nd Senatorial District, Pinian. And I'm the chairman of this committee, Senator Francisco Cruz from the island of Pinian. I'd also like to announce a couple of things in the interest of informational purposes regarding code of conduct during this public hearing. Today, the members of this committee are conducting a public hearing on the appointment of Mr. Sixto Kizumer to serve as a member who was the Secretary of the Department of Public Land. The public will be invited to make comments as to whether you support or oppose the appointment. However, any comments beyond the facts of the appointment that are not directly related with this public hearing will not be entertained, and such comment will be moved to the record. At the same time, please observe minimal noises in disrupting this hearing process. And please turn your electronic to a silent mode. Thank you. Let's now begin. This public hearing is now in session. Today is June 28th at approximately 1:39 in the afternoon here at Lota Mayor's office. That's a order. This public hearing regarding the appointment of Mr. Sixto K. Kizumer by Governor Rob De Longatorius and Lieutenant Governor On I. Palacios to serve as the Secretary of the Department of Public Land, pursuant to Article 3, Section 14 of the NMI Constitution and 1 CMC, subsection 2802. Ms. Jolene Taldell will be our clerk, Mr. John Santos will be our Southern Arm, and Mr. Joe Muniz will be our legal counsel and will serve for this public hearing. At this time, I'd like to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Senator Francisco Cruz.
Here.
Senator Rudy Oku.
Here.
Senator Carl R. Q. Neighbors.
Present.
Senator Lisa Estela. Senator Vinny Escobar. Mr. Chairman, 4 members are present, 1 member.
Thank you, Jolene. We have all members present. We have the necessary number to proceed with this public hearing. However, the floor leader of the Senate, Senator Lisa Blanc, is excused. At this time, do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
There's a motion and was seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. At this time, I'd like to ask the Sergeant at Arms to escort the appointed the governor's representative. And before you do the introduction of the governor's appointee, please stay for the record.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Joaquina King. I am the representative for the governor's office here in Florida. Buenas, Hafale, and good afternoon, Honorable Chairman Cruz, the honorable members of this body, the Honorable Acting Mayor Jim Anthony, the Honorable 18 Florida Municipal Council members, and the humble people of Florida. For the record, my name is Joaquina King, the Florida representative for the office of the governor. On behalf of Governor Rob Torres and Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today to testify and introduce to you the governor and the lieutenant governor's nominee for Secretary of Public Lands, Mr. Sixto Kaipa Igisomor. As a former senator and a former Secretary of Commerce, and his most recent appointment by Governor Torres in May 2021 to his present position as the Director for the CNMI Procurement Technical Assistance Center to the Department of Public Lands. In addition, Mr. Gisumor also brings years of private sector experience to this important position within our government. And furthermore, Mr. Gisumor intends to make the CNMI Department of Public Lands a more efficient and responsive agency that continues to put the interests of the MDS at the forefront. To further state our nomination of Mr. Gisumor, of all the things that keep us grounded both literally and symbolically, it is our connection with the land of our own. Our public lands are so much more than just the 14th island of the CNMI. From them, we develop our culture, our identity, and our way of life, and it is shared duty to protect them now for our people and towards our future generations. With that stated, Mr. Gisumor is committed to assisting the Governor and Lieutenant Governor achieve this important goal. Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios place your full trust and confidence in Mr. Gisumor as the Commonwealth's Secretary of Public Lands. I know he stands ready to answer your questions as well as share his plans for the future. His leadership, his work ethics, and his ability to work well with the others will make the department more efficient and advance the interests of the people of the Northern Mariana Islands. Thank you, Sizuz, Monsi, and Zangiliso, for the opportunity to introduce Mr. Gisumor to this august body. We thank you for the leadership in providing our opportunity for our people on all 3 senatorial districts to listen and participate in our deliberation of critical positions for our Commonwealth. Thank you, Sizuz, Monsi.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch, for that honorable testimony. And before I recognize the appointee, I would like to ask the clerk to please administer the oath. Mr. Gisumor, can you please stand and raise your right hand?
Mr. Sixto K. Gisumor, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gisumor. I know that you have submitted all required documents by this body. But if you have anything else or additional information that you wish to share, you have to go at least 30 minutes before you proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. The documents that, as far as submission, I believe, if I may, I forwarded to your staff, would be the Supreme Court's opinion on MPLT, DPL issues, and also the wish list of the Department of Public Lands to our governor with respect to the infrastructure dollar value that is needed. And the other item, which I'm not sure if I actually include, but I will forward accordingly later, is the Attorney General's opinion on the similar matter with respect to the Supreme Court's opinion. So if I may, I'll go ahead and try to read this out. Honorable Chairman, first of all, excuse me, I'm really kind of nervous to be in front of you all, colleagues. I know that people do state that don't worry because you weren't there with the Senate, but for me, I wanted to make sure that I'm not going to take anything for granted, and then I'll make sure that I present to this most honorable body, august body, the information that you may need from me. So, Hafare, dear Honorable Francisco Cruz, Chairman, Hafare, Diros, and good afternoon. And the members of this august body, the Senate Standing Committee on Executive Appointments and Government Investigations for EAGI, Sanloki by the former President, the Vice Chairman, si Victor Hoko, Senator Hoko, Sanloki si Senator Justo Quilver, and si Senator Carl, neighbors, Mamoras Parang. Greetings. It is of great pleasure to be here before you today. And if I may also extend my greetings to the Honorable Ephraim Catholic, Mayor of Rhoda, and to the people of Rhoda, as well as our acting mayor, Apare Tiro. I would like to also, before I forget, to take this opportunity to thank our governor, the Honorable Ralph Ilan Guerrero Torres, and Lieutenant Governor, the Honorable Arnold Indelesio Palacios, for appointing me, 6'2" Kaipari Gisomar, to be the next Secretary for the Department of Public Lands. Pending, of course, the review and consideration, most favorable consideration, I pray, from the Senate Committee. Apare para todos samsu tiro zanfai. I was appointed by our Governor Ralph Ilan Guerrero Torres and Lieutenant Governor Arnold I. Palacios last May 19th. My effective date of hire and delegated as acting secretary for the Department of Public Lands was last May 30th, 2001. I joined the department on the first business day or the first government work day of that week, June 1st, 2021. That would be the same day that our director for Rhoda Public Land joined DPL Rhoda. Since then, I've been occupied with the daily duties of the department, whilst immersing myself with the Constitution, statutes, regulations, SOPs, and operations of the department. Although the task of the department on the onset may seem simple in that it issues homesteads, public land leases, TOAs, or temporary occupancy agreements, and land claim settlements, I will have to admit that they are a bit more complicated. And maybe it's because I have yet to read all the regulations or SOPs. Nonetheless, I've continued to map out the do's and don'ts of the department, and it is an ongoing process, a process I hope to complete sooner than later. Generally, the department has the following main divisions, and in no particular order. It has the Homestead Division, issuing of permits and deeds, a Real Estate Division, which handles public land leases, a Compliance Division, handles the enforcement arm of the real estate. I'll repeat that part. Compliance handles the enforcement arm of the Real Estate Division. Then we have claims. Claims for settling land claims, either cash or exchange. And then we have planning, land use plan, and support for homesteads, real estates, and compliance. An accounting division, management of the department's finance, admin division, support for the entire department. Then we have Tinian District Office for public land matters on Tinian, and Rhoda District Office for public land matters on Rhoda. And later on, through your questioning, I can elaborate a little bit more on these divisions, because I feel it is important that in my role, that we are transparent and that we provide outreach to the people to understand the divisions and what they do. Because I believe there may be a misconception of what they do, and so we end up with having a lot of issues where people are calling us, asking us, can I exchange this, can you pay me for this, whereby it's really not in the hands of DPL, whereby meaning it requires another agency. So today, I am here and ready to answer, to the best of my ability, any questions you may have that is related to my ability and capability to take on the new task as Secretary for the Department of Public Lands. Tiro, Fascio, Sususmasa.
Thank you, Mr. Gisomar. And before I recognize the members of the Republic, I would like to recognize those individuals that are invited to participate. First on the list, I know that the Honorable Mayor Anthony is on silent, but the acting mayor is here. The chairman of the council wishes to come forward and give the testimony on behalf of the mayor.
Good afternoon, to the Chair, Vice Chair, and Vice President, Senator Carl. Welcome to Rhoda. Good afternoon. Yeah, for the record, my name is G. Michael Atalik, and I'm the Chairman for the 18RMC, and I'm the Acting Mayor of Rhoda. Okay, before I begin, I'd like to read the Mayor's support letter. In support support with the governor and lieutenant governor's nominee, Mr. Sixto Isomar, for the secretary of the DPL. Half a day, Chairman Cruz, I humbly ask my full support in the governor and lieutenant governor's nomination for the City Department of Land, Department of Public Lands. Former Senator Sixto K. Isomar has always been a champion for our municipality. For every legislation that came before the Senate, former Senator Isomar made it clear that without any input from the mayor of Rhoda, it would jeopardize the status of a bill. This kind of attitude we expect when you're looking for cinema secretaries, your understanding of the laws and role of the mayor as the chief executive of the municipality. In closing, I ask Mr. Chairman, your committee members to expedite the confirmation of former Senator Sixto K. Isomar to serve as the Cinema Secretary of Public Lands. Si Jus Masi, honorable effort and athlete. And
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jay Makalit. The testimony I also have on the list of the Filipino Kosovo. If you wish to represent the Kosovo, is it okay with that mayor's testimony? And you go another for the Kosovo. Yeah, go.
good afternoon again. I believe I'm wearing two hats right now. But I don't really know the former senator, but from what he just read as far as his own resume, I believe that he is the right person for the position, and we're looking forward to working with Mr. Isomar. And I ask the chairman, vice chairman, and the bottom of this committee to please consider confirming Mr. Isomar in this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Jay Makalit.
Okay, before I have something for you, if confirmed, we have some issues down here that are beautiful island road with land issues. I believe there's an issue for the there's land exchange or compensation of their land. And the other thing there, the village or Jugi village, we don't know what's the status on that one. And there's a new place that we decided for a village, I believe that was Finafa area. And there's some issues too as far as these 1 hectares permits that we're having issue. I myself got affected on that too, so we tried to inquire how to get our permits out so we can start our farming and livestock. So that's it, and good luck, Mr. Isomar. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to go up on the Department of Public Land, Western Department Head, Mr. Antonio Okirwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I proceed with my testimony this afternoon, I have here signed documents by individuals here in Rhoda in support of Mr. Sixto Isomar to be the Secretary of the Department of Public Lands for your ready reference, sir. Buenas tardes, Honorable Chairman Cruz and honorable members. My name is Antonio Okirwood. I am presently the Director of DPL Rhoda. Mr. Chairman and honorable members, I do not wish to make a two-page testimony of Mr. Isomar, nor to dwell into his academic credentials. Except for Senator Neighbors, most of you has had the opportunity to serve well with him in the Senate. And you gentlemen are more knowledgeable of this person than all of us here combined. With this said, I say thank you to both Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios for nominating Mr. Gisoma to be the CNMI Secretary for the Department of Public Lands. With their appointment of Mr. Gisoma, it has made your job much easier insofar as scrutinizing his credential and his ability to serve the general public. Mr. Chairman and honorable members, I join many of our good people in the Commonwealth in asking you and your able members to consent Mr. Gisoma to be the next Secretary for the Department of Public Lands. Si Dios me hace una oportunidad, saludo tal. Buenas tardes.
Thank you, Director Gilbert. And before I acknowledge the members of the general public who wishes to come forward and deliver testimony, whether you're in support or not in support, again, any comments, then the facts of the appointee or comments that are not directly related to this public hearing will not be entertained. And such comment will be removed from the meeting. At this time, the floor is open for any members of the public here in the gallery who wishes to come forward. Please come forward, deliver your testimony, and please start by stating your name for the record. Thank you. Public comment is now open. Anyone?
Good afternoon, distinguished members, Mr. Chairman, Senate members, Kirua, former President, Senate President Mr. Oko of the 1st Senatorial District, my good friend and family, Senator members, and of course you, Mr. Chairman. Now, Mr. Sommer, you know how it feels to be down here in front of your colleagues. So welcome to the club. Anyway, my name is Ignacio Espinola again. I'm here in total support of your nominee in front of you, distinguished panel. The record speaks for itself. I applaud the governor for his tapping into our local resources, the intellectual community, to serve the great CNMI, the great Commonwealth. Because Sommer undoubtedly has an array of professional, well-educated person, and it is great to, I'm proud to be here with them in front of you in full support for your unconditional confirmation. So please, before the end of the day, or if time permits, please expeditiously expedite this confirmation. I know your former colleagues will let you down, Mr. Ikusomo. I'm here precisely for two main reasons. Number one, the air is filled with optimism for its confirmation eventually. And there's two greatest issues that's facing the municipality of Luta. Number one is about the capital improvement project, the proposed Route 100, which has been dormant since 2005. The other thing is also what, unfortunately, the nominee will inherit, if confirmed to Secretary of the Department of Public Land, is the onset of land issues in Rhoda, either land exchange or land compensation. So far, there's two of us that are affected with the land compensation. We still have balance, for my side itself. Of the total 198,000 of the proposed Route 100, the biggest chunk of land to be taken for public purpose of Route 100. Of the 198,000, we still owe about $149,000. So it's not in the hands of the Department of Public Lands now. Fortunately for the nominee here, it is in the hands of the Department of Finance. Should there be funding identified, then of course they'll rather not say, but hopefully enough to bring us closer to our issue. Other than that, there are members here who are affected with the Route 100 that are willing to settle their issue through land exchange. Let me just reiterate something here of the Route 100 right of way land settlement. Let me just quote the U.S. Department of Transportation respond to Congressman Billy Cole, what you have before and what you're asking for more. So back in 2012, U.S. Secretary of Transportation Ray LaHood has formally responded to Kilili request for reallocation of federal highway funds, saying that until Commonwealth government does a better job of spending the federal money it already has, there will be no change in funding formula. As soon as the Commonwealth is able to demonstrate consistent increase in rate of expenditure of funds, we will work for the four territories to make any necessary adjustment to the allocation formula, LaHood wrote back to Sablan. If you look at the population, if you look at the population land area, miles of road, any objective measure, Sablan says, the Northern Mariana Islands should be receiving more than 10% of the total highway funds. I appreciate Secretary LaHood saying that we'll take these factors into consideration when the formula is adjusted. But he won't be doing that until the Commonwealth government starts spending millions of dollars of federal highway funds that it already has. The Commonwealth has spent only 23% of the funding it received through Safety LU acronym back in 2005 when the law was enacted. So the average expenditure compared to Guam and Virgin Islands, American Samoa is 53%, over twice the CNMI rate. So the point here I'm trying to indicate is there's money. It's just that the commitment to tap into the federal funds. In addition to that, thanks to money from heaven, under the federal assistance grant comprises of CDBG, FEMA Public Assistance, and ERP, the Tourist Administration presented to the public officials a spending plan and the communities in my-wide. 101.8 million for fourth category, or 20% of it, amounting or $20.1 billion for land compensation solely. Our heirs is still owe 149,000 for the right of way. So I appeal to the present leadership in combination of other agencies and departments to follow this up, to follow this matter up. The reason being is that it's not like before. It's not a question whether funding. It's not a question of funding. Right now, we have so much federal funds available that all we need to do is commitment to tap into. So this is all I feel from you, legislature, distinguished panel, and also to the Department of Public Land, to sort of not only CNMI's Department of Public Works Federal Highway Division. It is their obligation to follow these issues up. Okay? It's not Department of Public Land. Department of Public Land is a change of compensation certification with the governor. But it's the right-of-way division of public highway to follow this up. Now that the money is here, so I appeal to you, whoever is obligation or responsibility, that now is the time. We have the funds. So again, for the municipality of Luntan, we need to work on the Route 100 issue because landowners are waiting for settlement through land compensation by cash or monetary, or settlement through land exchange. And thank you again. I would like to ask you, honorable members, to expeditiously expedite the confirmation of Mr. Sixto Iglesomar to serve this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendola. Still open for public comment.
Good afternoon, honorable members of the committee. Mr. Iglesomar. My name is Rosita A. Bokut, resident of Songsong Village, Rhoda. I'm not here to dispute the appointment of Mr. Iglesomar by the governor, but rather to say that upon little knowledge and reading I've learned that Mr. Igasomar is more than qualified to be the next Secretary of Department of Public Lands, both from the executive side, the legislative experience, and private experience. So he's more than capable to manage, direct, and bring our public land to where it should be with the right direction. So like I said, I'm not here to dispute, but I would like to request if you will give me your ears and listen to my request, and not only affecting me and my family, but many others who are homesteaders, that when you open a homestead, ensure that there is infrastructure, meaning water, which is very essential, and power. But of course, there are problems with respect to funding. But now I hear so many presentations that money is no longer an object, whether it be for land compensation or even for developments. So I would appeal through Mr. Igasomar to work with our leaders, our distinguished legislators, to find ways, because previously public land claims that they are not responsible for infrastructure, that they are not provided money or allocated money to make sure that water power is distributed in homesteads. I think that should not be really an emphasis on public land. Rather, they should work with the people who can provide the money. And again, with somebody said money from heaven. That's true, that we can use some of that money for infrastructure. The other thing that I would like to raise, and this is in regards to land exchange. Maybe it has not been mentioned that if I own a land by the beach, and because of the water, the climate changes, and already the water is halfway my property, would that be, and again, maybe it could be through legislation or through your power, be accorded with another land exchange, not necessarily for public purpose, but because there's no longer, I lost my land because of the water. It's something to talk about, and maybe one of these days we can hear what will be the proposal if you need to legislate or just add to your rules and reg in terms of land exchange. Thank you very much, and I ask for your expeditious action on his confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oak.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, nominee or appointee, Sixto, and all the people who are present this afternoon. I am Joaquin Maglonia, a resident of this island operating some businesses. I am here, and my sole purpose for being here is to endorse Sixto Igasomar for Secretary of the Department of Public Land. I know little about Sixto's professional background, but I know enough to be able to vouch for his suitability for the job. I have first-hand experience with Sixto with regards to his intelligence and also his public service ability. I saw him firsthand that his attitude and ability in public service is excellent. He knows how to be a public servant. I met him on Saipan 2 weeks ago, and I decided to ask him about my issues with a public man. Without hesitation, he said, I will be in my office in 40 minutes, and if you can make it, I'll be there. So of course I was elated. I wasn't actually expecting that. I was expecting that maybe he would say, how about next week or next month? That's what I was used to experience. But with him, it's immediate. And of course, I prepared all my documents, and I went over to his office, and he was ready for me. So I gave him all the documents, he read it over, and he knew everything about, he didn't have any questions with all the documents that I had. He called his assistant to kind of plan the action of what they are going to do with my issues. And for long, it's, everything is done, and I was fully satisfied with the service. Now I am very comfortable that they're actively addressing my problem, and they're working on it, and I'm sure a resolution is coming out pretty soon. So I believe that he is a good public servant. Another thing that is important in the job is intelligence. And I think Sistu has an extremely good educational preparation, academic preparation. I saw him like 3 months ago when he came over to Rhoda to meet with businesses, to see if businesses are interested in programs to contract the military or the federal government. Sisto was a director and a counselor for the program called PTAC. It's Procurement Technical Assistance Center. So he presented, it's kind of like a workshop here, and I participated, and I saw his performance. He was very professional, very articulate, and he knows the stuff. And it's actually a very complicated program, a lot of regulations to comply, and he explained it clearly to all the businesses. And I like his attitude. He has this attitude that he really likes to help our people. He wants us to check on the markets. He wants us to improve our economy. And that's how I see system. And for Secretary of Public Land, it's not for everybody. We need someone who has the intelligence, the academic preparation good enough to handle the job. We all know that the job requires a lot of negotiation, a lot of paperwork, a agreements with multi-million-dollar corporations, and a lot of the leases now are expiring. He has to have a very good common sense of what to do with those. And we have a lot of pending issues, land compensation and land exchange, and a lot of appraisal and so on. So he has work in his hands. So because I believe that he is capable, he has the intellect, and he has the attitude and the ability of a good public servant, I respectfully ask you, members of the committee, to confirm Sixto for this position, and I believe you will do a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Still open for public comment.
Good afternoon, panel. For the record, my name is Arvin Ogo. I work for NMHC, Northern Marianas Housing Corporation. And on behalf of our Corporate Director, Jesse Palacios, our Deputy Director, Jeannie Martinez, unconditionally we give our full support in the endorsement of Mr. Sixto Isomar as the Secretary of Public Affairs. And with the partnership with NMHC and the leadership of Sixto Isomar with the Village Homesteads and NMHC's CDBG PR program, so we can get families to get their homes. We create a good partnership once we initiate the permits issued to eligible applicants. And on a personal note, I would like to see on the villages of Tinian, Rhoda, and maybe the Northern Islands, agriculture. If for Rhoda and Tinian, if we cannot issue the size of 1 hectare to our people, then I think we should consider to reduce the 1 hectare to 5 house lots, so we can get the program going again. So I'm sure the leadership of our candidate appointee to secretary will consider that. God bless and thank you, and we hope your approval for Mr. Isomar.
Thank you, sir. Still open for public comment.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Distinguished Committee of the AGI. For the record, my name is Ivan T. Merrick Jr. I'm a voter and resident of San Paulo 1, also an employee of the Rhode Mayor's office as the Mayor's Press Secretary and CFP Coordinator. At this time, I'd like to talk about the history of our Secretary nominee, Sixto Isomar. The first time I met Mr. Sixto Isomar was when I was working at Arctic Circle Air Service, and I was passing magazines around. One of the magazines went to Mr. Isomar, and he asked me, it's a magazine about Bill Clinton. He asked me, Councilman, can you repeat this word? What state is this from? Confidently, I said, Arkansas. Arkansas. He corrected me and said, no, son, it's pronounced Arkansas. Arkansas. Ladies and gentlemen, during my tenure here at the Mayor's office, I was able to work with Mr. Sixto Isomar on PTAC. During PTAC, we were told that every agency, including the Mayor's office, was going to get a DUNS number and a SAMS. Let me tell you, getting DUNS number and SAMS is not easy, but we did. Later on, we found out that during the ARPA discussion, one of the requirements is that the municipal agency must have a DUNS number. Automatically, the foresight of Mr. Sixto Isomar pushing our municipality to get a DUNS number in preparation for ARPA. Senator. Another event I want to be clear about is that in the CNMI, most of us who take pride in knowing that we are a cannabis municipality take pride in recognizing two of the founding fathers of cannabis. One, Representative Young Guerrero, and of course, former Senator Sixto Isomar. Lastly is the thought of combining and working with different municipalities, agencies, and government authorities. When I bring this all together, my dear colleagues of the Senate, is clearly Sixto is a man that's problem-solving individual. Let's just put it in our head. He's an individual that solves problems. From the beginning with the cannabis, When everyone said it was never going to happen in the Commonwealth, 6-2 was the first to scratch the surface and pave the way for what we see now as the public law that honors cannabis use in the CNMI. When it came to the point that DPL, under another guises, would never report to the mayor's office, it was 6-2 Igasomar that made it clear that any bill that comes before the municipality of Rota needs to go to the mayor first. This is the gentleman that has the same ideology, same concept that we're going to put as secretary for DPL. All I ask members, if confirmed, if given the opportunity, please give Senator 6-2 the resources he needs to correct the problems here. Please allow Senator 6-2 to work with former Congressman Antonio Quirigua, our DPL Executive Director for Rota, so that they can complete and finish these problems. That's all I ask. I know, looking at his qualification, it's awesome. All I ask is that when we give him that chance to sit, let's give him the tools he needs. Jesus was.
Thank you, sir. You open for public comment.
Good afternoon, Mayor Cruz, Chairman Cruz, and members of this committee. For the record, my name is Justin Maglocan. Let me begin by saying that I know Mr. 6-2 Igasomar as a quiet and respectful young man. He and my son, Eric, are good friends, and on some occasions, he will come to our house in Yarapan to spend time with my son at the house after school. My remarks this afternoon center on critical issues facing the Department of Public Land, which are many and difficult to resolve. Issues such as the availability of public lands for village and agriculture homestead. Saipan, for example, can no longer provide agriculture and village homestead for over 3,000 applicants. This is my opinion. Pagan, village and agriculture homestead cannot become a reality unless all the necessary infrastructure are in place. On Tinian, once the military begin its development phase, there will be little public land left for the growing population. Rhoda have very little public land for village homestead and practically no more land for agriculture homestead due to the takeover without payment of over 1/3 of our island by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and the proposed U.S. National Park. Likewise, the need for land exchanges, new business requiring public land, renewal of public land leases, as well as other government needs for expansion, presents enormous challenges. Compounding all of the mentioned problems, the lack of funding to bring the necessary infrastructure to said homestead appears not a priority of the administration. I hope now with the added funding that will change. In closing, regardless of the enumerated challenges, I have confidence in Mr. Igasomar, a ability to work with everyone, to guide the course of better accountability and fairness on the administration of our most precious resources. I urge the committee to expedite his confirmation to serve as Secretary for the Department of Public Land. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Still open for public comment? Anyone else? Any others? If no one else, the comment now closed. It's like last, look at this, knowledge of letters submitted.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Senate EHA Committee, Mr. Rizoma, and members of the general public. In addition to the oral testimony received today from the executive appointment of Mr. J. Rizoma to serve as Secretary of the Department of Public Lands, please be advised that of an additional written comment which was received as declared authority by the Honorable David M. Aspect, Mayor of the Municipality of Sacramento. At this time, no written comment proposal for appointment of Mr. Rizoma has been received by the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jody. This time I'd like to recognize the Vice Chairman of this committee, Senator Victor Popo from the First Singapore District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To all our guests that are here in support of the appointee, Mr. Sixto Rizoma, we extend our sincere appreciation and really good afternoon for taking your time to share with the committee members the appointment of Mr. Sixto Rizoma to be the next Public Land Secretary. Former Senator Sixto Rizoma, you're looking at your colleagues once upon a time that have shared great ideas to improve our Commonwealth. We regret that we lost you to join the present leadership of the Senate to move forward with our vision to improve the livelihood of our people of the Commonwealth. But it may be a good blessing for your loss and to be appointed to be the next DPL Secretary. That many of the testimony from the public have emphasized your ability, your capability, and your ability to move the public land and address all these important issues that we have been discussing during our time here in the Senate. There is no need to make any obscure notion of how this committee will interact with the appointment. It is very obvious that we are colleagues once upon a time. We have worked diligently, cooperatively. So I believe the public deserve no more than to be wondering whether this committee or the Senate will affirm your appointment or not. It is therefore with our present today with you, I'd like to put emphasis to of my confidence and the committee confidence that you will be dealing with legislation that you took part once upon a time and support your colleagues in the legislature with this legislation, and it has definitely painted the way to become public law. And I know that's a challenge, a big challenge for you as well as other challenges that you've heard by public comments made by the community of Rhoda, from the community of Rhoda. And I have a couple of concerns that you may not be fully aware of the status But I'm confident that with the help of your professional staff that deal with these issues, will guide you accordingly and to expedite resolution of the impending issue that the people of Rhoda, and most particularly the homesteader that is and has been awaiting their opportunity to build their dwelling house and also their agricultural lot concern. Now, we have made an earlier discussion in approaching the Doogie homestead status. And I have provided you and your staff a proposal that the department may look into and consider the present Doogie homestead situation on the adverse effect of homesteaders that find it very difficult to build their dwelling house because of the environment or the suitability of the land area that has been designated sometime or years ago. But a question that I have before you, if the idea to relocate the village, the Doogie village homestead, to another area, I want to ask your office, when confirmed, with the help of your professional people in that office, that the homesteaders that are given already lots to build their house and opted that it's difficult to build their house. I understand that DPL sees all eviction notice of this area, correct?
Honorable Senator, can you just repeat that last question?
The easements of the Doogie homesteaders that up till now have no development after so many years of the homestead being issued to them, and no improvement has been made. Was there any eviction notice served to these homesteaders? You may bring your staff if you I understand that this question is.
Thank you, Honorable Senator Dusmasi. And yes, I do want to call Ms. Pat, she's our Director for Planning. But I wanted to state that the reason why I'm calling her up is I do understand a lot of our issues with the public lands. And I've been doing a lot of assessments, reviews, and research on what's happening. And I can elaborate later on the generalities of that. But considering your question, I want to make sure we provided the right answer, because there has been moving of individuals, plans, contemplations from Doogies to other areas for homesteaders. And so I would like to have Ms. Pat here clarify that generally to you, so that we're clear on how are we moving these sectors of public lands. Individuals that were given or pulled lots, were given lot numbers that they were going to occupy, but permits were not issued, or permits were issued, but they never occupied because there was no infrastructure challenges with infrastructure and or CRM regulations. So with that, Ms. Pat, maybe you can.
Just the mere fact that there are no infrastructure in place, the Department of Public Lands cannot start the clock on the so-called 3 years to develop. So if they haven't developed and there's no infrastructure, then there will be no revocation. At the same token, we do have the plan to relocate to Mua area, but we still have to deal with those that would like to stay in the Doogie area. So those are still issues that the Secretary is looking into.
Has there been any discussion with those individuals that are being given already homestead permit to access their assigned lots in the area?
They do have permits.
I mean, do you have any communication of
Not at
a
all.
possible relocation of another area?
I can't speak for the Rhoda office, but I know that there has been concern prior to Mr. Somar, it was Ms. Tergezo. We've had someone come in and testify, you know, the hardship of trying to build, the fact that there's only one structure built there. There's issues concerning infrastructure and how we're going to get them in. That's why the relocation came about. However, Mr. Somar is looking at the standpoint of whoever is already there to have that option, whether they want to relocate or not. And the rest, we're going to have to ask.
Yes, Senator, because apparently there were discussions about moving individuals, repooling, and one of the senators brought up a question is, if you have homesteads, so first of all, we have person A who pooled a lot and was not given a permit. But then we have another homestead, a totally different area, or two more homesteads, totally different area.
Senator, let me interrupt you. Can we speak on the Dugi homestead area only at this time?
Yeah. The plan is relocate to more.
Okay, that's good.
But another option that we're looking at too are to have that dialogue with those people that have been permitted to do it, to get their feedback as well.
Okay, and the next question, have you, if the DPL intention is to relocate the difficulty of that homestead village to another homestead area, have DPL identified the set area for relocation?
More.
Have you set aside that?
Yes.
Now, I think what is then needed, because that, I believe, need a legislation to ensure that that land area will be designated as the next village homestead. So what I would like to ask public land to start working with all those homesteaders that are given permitted at Duque area, if they are willing to relocate to another site. Now, my following leading question is, for those applicants or those permitted homesteaders that are given a Duque and opted to stay at that area, can that be allowed by the department?
Senator, the Honorable Senator, that is the question that I need to make sure I pave the way for. The intention is, as you're stating, to be able to move, well, we're moving individuals because there's no infrastructure and we're not able to give them the permit and the deed. But those who have already planted themselves there, that is the question we need to clarify.
No, my question, I understand that. But if there are applicants who opted not to relocate and stay within that homestead site, is DPL willing to allow those individuals that like to stay at that area?
At the moment, Senator, I'm not able to answer that, whether we can clear it. But the idea, the goal is to do it. The goal is to allow them to stay if possible, unless...
Okay, that's where my question lies. If there's 2 or 3 people that wanted to be there and doesn't want to relocate, then I'm asking, that's why I'm asking this question, can DPL proceed and allow this individual maybe to relocate their existing lot that they pick up to a more closer area?
So that is a very good question, and we will consider those questions. I believe, number one, if they're willing to stay, yes or no. We will do that with regulations to make sure it's not prevented. And number two, if everybody has moved and there is a closer lot because everyone is gone, can they move forward? We will also add that to our question.
Okay, so this is that's why I'm asking, Mr. Gizomar, is that I think DPL need to start the legwork of preparing documentation to those people, homesteaders, that have already been given lot at Dugi, whether or not they want to relocate, so that we can have the number of those people that wanted to stay. And then I would like to see, you know, a letter affirming the new proposed village homestead at Mua. And in that letter, I want to see how many can we open. Not only that those to relocate, but if there is an additional lot that can open for more applicants for village homestead, I would like also to see that forthcoming.
Thank you. Yes.
Now, in terms of the infrastructure development, I understand that the issue here, and many of our village homesteaders may not understand that infrastructure comes actually first before issuing homestead. Unfortunately, years back, our political leaders wanted to open the door for more villages in the absence of providing infrastructure foundation funding to ensure that once you issue the village homestead, the applicant will be readily available for hookup on the infrastructure once they build their dwelling house. Correct? Was that the issue before?
That part, Senator, I cannot,
Yeah,
I mean, politically is the question.
yeah.
Pat, can you answer that?
Once upon a time, the Department of Public Lands, or more so Mariana's Public Land, MPLA,
Billy?
had been using, even during MPL's time, they were using DPL funds coming in from leases and permits to fund infrastructure. Unfortunately, the Mariana's Public Land Trust sued MPLA to stop the department from using MPLA funds for infrastructure. It was taken to court on a certified legal question, and the court came back with a record of decision that says water, power, sewer, roads are considered capital improvement and is not to be funded by the Department of Public Lands.
Now with the defunct of MPLA, and now
After the suit, no more.
DPL, what happened?
No more with the Department of Public Lands. We can no longer fund those infrastructure.
And you are not allowed to use any revenue generated from public land lease to be set aside for infrastructure development
Correct,
at this point.
correct.
Okay. So, in the absence of that funding, why do we continue to issue homestead in the absence of funding?
DPL prays for money coming from the from the executive or the legislature as a whole to come up with those funding.
Yeah, I understand that, but as you may all understand, in several years, that our economy is at a bleak situation, that we can no longer, probably, the government cannot afford to provide you the necessary funding to ensure and satisfy the opening of homesteaders. Now, we may have an opportunity now
Yes.
for sewer, for water. So what is missing now is
Power.
the power.
And for your information, the Department of Public Lands has submitted the cost estimate for all pending homesteads across the Marianas.
And
Rhoda.
and this cost estimate only deals with sewer
Sewer and
and water.
Yes.
Can I ask your agency or your department to at least provide? What would be the cost amount that Rhoda, Tinian, and Cypress will incur as a result of that cost estimate?
$88 million.
No, I want to see if you can break that by senatorial.
Yes. Unfortunately, I don't have that figure with me.
No, you don't have
by
to do
island.
it right now, but
No, but
I'd
the
like that
total
meeting
cost,
to have
yes.
a copy of what I have asked you to provide. from
Okay,
the-
sure.
on the cost breakdown of all this infrastructure.
Yeah.
And probably it would be good if the department can also provide a cost estimate of what power funding is required to come along with the water. So we can look for other opportunities to ensure that we provide power, water, and sewer for the new village homestead.
Well, I believe there's a legislative initiative on the table.
Well,
To
we
allow the
cannot
Department of Public
say
Works to provide-
legislative initiative because it's not yet a done deal. It's just a proposal that we don't know the fate of what this legislative initiative will turn out. All I wanted to find out is you have already made the cost analysis for water and sewer. Now I'm asking you because you provide the X number of hectares for village homestead distribution. So I understand that you may have some good mathematician in your office that can provide estimation for power costs as well.
Actually, seriously, we get all the cost estimate from citizens,
So
pretty good.
wherever, I like to come this in a package, if you can give if you can assist supposedly to be your new secretary. I know he's got a lot of things to catch up.
Yes.
But once he does, you will be riding free on his back, navigating public land to the right direction. Do you agree?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Another concern, and I'm sorry, I've asked the chairman that we stay focused on the RODA issue, because we are here for RODA hearing. But the chair will allow other members and himself to ask protocols or other concern aside from the question that I've been raising. Okay? Okay, second concern, now that we have addressed the Doogie issue in hoping the closer of the difficult homestead area to another relocation, that this will come very soon, very, very soon. Another concern that I have is with your help, you can assist probably the new secretary to be in the future regarding the FINAFA village homestead. I think there is how many lots being lottery there? About 300 something?
123 lots for FINAFA.
Okay. And that was done during what year?
I came in on the 2010, around maybe 2012.
So it's been how many years already?
10 years, almost, 8-9 years.
And up to today, there's not even one that can access what they have become to be their property. And what's causing that again? Funding.
Yes, funding.
Okay, so again, there's an opportunity. Is that being considered on the $88 million that you have set aside?
Actually, we didn't set aside $88 million. That went to the governor for funding. And $19 million for FINAFA.
Okay, out of the total amount.
Out of the $88 million, $19 million went to FINAFA for infrastructure.
Not counting the
including
proposed
the road.
Not counting the proposed more development.
No.
So in total, we're talking about what?
For FINAFA?
No, combine FINAFA and MUA, if we are to combine the
Wow.
infrastructure development. Because we cannot be concentrating on one and forgetting the other.
Trying to get the infrastructure into the duty area would cost maybe 4 times more.
Okay, we can forget Dubi already.
Okay.
Only to those that are willing to stay is the question that I asked you to be allowed for them to stay. And whoever wants to relocate, that's where I like the office to ensure, some sort of form that they agree so we understand who are willing to relocate and who are not willing to relocate.
We have requested for $200 million actually for opening of access roads.
For
into the
Rota alone?
homestead site.
For Rota alone or for the entire company?
For Rota and Tinian.
And that will cost,
But we're going back to request for $200,000 more.
or 200,000?
Yeah.
And you mean 2 million? You have been requested 2
No,
million?
no, 200,000.
Oh, 200,000,
Yeah,
okay.
and you want to add another 200,000.
So, Mr. President, if I may, this is the document I have not shared with you yet, but I will share it with this committee maybe by tomorrow or when we go to routine and also submit it. There is a breakdown from CUC, which is about $88 million, and Saipan is about $3.4 million. TNN is approximately $44 million, and then Rota about $36 million, $37 million. And so Rota includes Doogie Homestead, infrastructure, water, sewer, power, totaling $18.9 million, and Finafa Homestead, water, sewer, power, $19.45 million. So 18 and 19 is about 1, 2, 3, 37.
Okay, so that cost estimate for Rhode Island, Acting Secretary, is very important for us to understand how many will relocate and how many will stay, so that the proposed amount that's supposedly dedicated for the Doogie, in the absence of those homesteaders that want to relocate, perhaps we can use that funding for the relocation of the another homestead. And just allow the infrastructure to be provided to those homesteaders that are given an opted to stay. Okay? So I like to get that breakdown, maybe in the days ahead, after taking full control of the physical department.
Yes, Senator. We will provide this information. I think I'm not an expert, but I think the extrapolation of how we will accommodate those. But I think on the onset, Senator, we would do a survey, as you're stating, to make sure we get a survey, find out who's going to move out, and not just, and you're very correct. I believe all along, I'm not sure, and Pat can be corrected here, all along, I think it seems like there were unilateral contemplations and decisions that I'm moving to here. But you're right, maybe there should be a survey. Do we have lives that will be affected? Who's going to stay, who's not going to stay? And I think that's something that I'll work with the director on Rota to work with his staff to get out a survey immediately so we can be able to quantify your question.
For a point of information for the members, how many homesteaders are made available at the area? 25, 26, 27, or 30?
145 lots.
And Doogie,
Yeah,
where it's already totally distributed.
yes.
Okay. So with the closure of that homestead and to relocate, so maybe the proposed anticipated fund can be used on the other proposed village homestead and reduce the amount necessary that for Rota, and we may probably bring in the infrastructure development for that cost saving.
Yes.
No, so maybe we can be discussing this, and I hope that we don't close 2021 without any resolution of this concern that I'm bringing up to you. I understand, Acting Director, Secretary, that you like these challenges, and that's why I'm saying this may be a blessing that you're no longer with us and you are on the other side, trying to help our people, our islands, with the support of your former colleagues in the legislature. So I do have all the confidence that you can navigate DPL into the right course of direction. Another concern regarding land compensation. I know that this question that I'm throwing it out to you, Secretary or Acting Secretary, is for you to take note properly when you are confirmed. Maybe you can work expeditiously on all these concerns, and we see the closure of all this land compensation.
Yes, Senator, thank you for bringing up that question, and that's one of the things that I know we're aware, and maybe the public is not aware. Land compensation, the division of land claims or claims division, the only time it is effectuated, and I just want to go back a little bit because your question touches on that, claims division is activated when we receive a request from DPW Highway or from CRF or from HPO that there is a land somewhere else out there that is needed for public use, and that DPL must come into play to review the land or the applicant from these agencies for a land compensation or a land exchange. And in a lot of these cases, most of them have been stuck because a lot of landowners, especially on site land, I would say, they might distribute, so the land belongs to somebody who has been gone a long time ago. So there's no probate involved. And so these issues, most of these issues, they're supposed to have taken place at the agency level. But instead, a lot of these issues, the agencies sent over to us without actually verifying, confirming who the landowners are. And some of them are still in probate. So I have a lot of land claims where it's stuck with us, and it looks like DPL is not doing its job, but actually we're waiting for the claimants to settle the ownership of the properties and also to settle offers that were made by the public lands to them. And some of them, and I'm glad some of them mentioned that there are current settlement claims, agreements that are in the finance or AG. I will review those and report back to the committee on who those claimants are at least. But as far as the general balance, I believe currently the claims that are being paid out are going for primary roads and secondary roads as top priority. And so if there's, so those are the claims being paid. There was a question earlier about Route 101 or 100. I believe there's a lot of private lands there. The project has not moved forward, I believe, from DPW because we have not settled those issues yet. Where is DPL on this matter with respect to land exchange or land compensation on that route? I can look into it. We do have some of the claimants who have approached me at the office asking us to expedite review of their claims to just do an exchange. So I will look into those, Senator, and provide that report to you on the overall, especially for Florida, on that particular point.
Okay, and even so, Acting Secretary, maybe we would like to get information from your office. This is not between now until you confirm, but maybe when you already confirm, enough the time to really look into this issue about how many people are affected as a result of non-payment for land count. And I understand the issue of the right-of-way acquisition. You know, we have tried to complete this about 10 years ago. Unfortunately, there are some landowners that are just hesitant to come up with a negotiable figure as to whether land exchange or land compensation. And it is true that in the absence of probate, it is very difficult to move Route 100 forward. And that has been the issue and concern also from the Office of Transportation, that we cannot put closer on Route 100 because of landowners' difficulty in making the negotiation to a closer end. And I understand that there will be no more paving and skipping. once they're gonna have fun, they wanna finish it without undue incompletion of the remaining portion that will not be paid. Because what had happened in the past is that back then when they were paving the land, the road, there are times that we skip pavement because landowners are not satisfied with the negotiation and then move to another. So the issue of ending the land exchange between road and Saipan is a result of those issues in the past, that taking advantage of the exchange on the island of Rhoda to the island of Saipan. And that caused a lot of difficulties and caused the government a lot of unnecessary distribution of government land as a result of a small portion of public land that landowner will not agree to pay the 100 feet to connect to the other pavement. So as a result of that, today Rock 100 find it so difficult now to do the same practice as what they have done in the years back. And that's one issue that is holding the movement for the Rock 100 to move forward. Now, in the land compensation issue, what amount can DPL settle with landowner? What total amount of land area that DPL can settle in cash value rather than land exchange? You may provide that.
Yes.
If you don't have the answer today, maybe we need to find that out later so that we can have the answer to our constituents that are concerned with those kind of issues.
Senator, on the onset, the exchange rate is a percentage that I will forward to this body, but it's based on the appraised value of the land. So whatever the land it is that you have that the government will be taking, we will require an appraised value of that property. Then there's a percentage charge to it for the value exchange.
Okay, that's good enough for the committee. Now, during the public comments, I take note on an issue with a private property. You know, if there could be a way for possible land exchange when Mother Nature took over a portion of your property and giving you now a submerged total land area and submerged land.
So generally, based on my understanding, that can possibly, if we're talking about high water mark, possibly a CRM jurisdiction, but CRM then, for example, as one of those agencies I mentioned, would have to work with the landowner to process CRM for the taking of the land, taking for public use per se, in a sense that the land has been engulfed by water, and then for DPL to submitting that request to DPL, and DPL will be to negotiate then with the owners, negotiating land exchange or land compensation.
So very well noted. Acting Secretary, so can you put that again in your wish list to come up with whatever resolve as a result of this sentiment by virtue that it was raised during this public hearing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Acting Secretary. I'm not the owner, but thank you. But you know, I know that this concern is going to be a different command, and I have full confidence that the redirection or regrouping of the professional staff, that we can see more accomplishment in satisfying our constituents with issues that have been long awaited for. Again, I hate to reiterate this back, but maybe Pat can provide this committee for the record, you know, on the issue of these disputes that every year we face President bid closer, possible closer of the road. Where are we with this public land and how with this private land negotiation?
I'm sorry, talking about the 100.
Can you repeat that question again, please?
At some point in time, every year, we have to put our eyebrow up because there was a threat of closing the main highway going from San Paulo, from the airport to Somsom, and Somsom to the airport. What has the department done to satisfy this claim?
I'm not quite familiar with that. All I know is that the Department of Public Lands is not and is prohibited from acquiring any land. That it originates from the Department of Public Works, or like it says CRM, whatever regulatory agency says that you're in need. Once it's acquired, they certify that it's a need, then it comes to the Department of Public Lands. That's when we look at it and negotiate with the landowner, whether it's monetary compensation or land exchange.
Again, I believe what I'm referring to is an issue here that have gone litigation and came up with an answer. And to date, we have not seen any resolve as to the ending of this ordeal. And I believe you understand what specific area I'm referring to.
I'm sorry, I don't. That would be something that probably land claims could respond to. My area is homestead development and land.
I think the former Secretary of Public Land is very much aware about this situation, so maybe I think Secretary, I want you, if this has not been resolved, can I put this in my wish list for you to look into and put this to rest?
Yes, sir, Senator. I have a note here. I will verify this note with you thereafter. And if this is the one, then we shall act on it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think I've taken, Mr. Chairman, the floor too long, and I'd like to yield for now. And the other members of the committee as or put up a statement of concern that the acting Secretary of Public Land may look into once he is confirmed to occupy the help of the Secretary. Thank you.
Vice Chancellor.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I just wanted to provide a response to our former president. His question with land claim numbers, and I believe we're both thinking the same thing, the same idea, concept. We have a lot of information on public lands. We have a lot of data, but I'm sure that a lot of them are not necessarily organized to the questions that we're asking. But similarly to your questions on land claim numbers and volume or dollar figure values, 2020, there were 7 land claim units that were settled. 2021, 7 so far land claims that were settled. Dollar value of the 2020 land claim settlements was almost $500,000. Fiscal year 2021 so far is already $5.53 million. Average claim, if we average that, is about $65,000 per claimant in 20 and $76,000 in 21 for the 7th. And there's no land exchange in 2020 and 2021. These are responses that came from my claims division as I asked them previously for coming over. And I can ask them to itemize if there's any specifically for Rhoda and or specifically for Tinian. Pending claims so far, about 206 claimants. Estimated value for this to include primary roads, secondary roads, parks and recs, Rhoda, funding and wetlands, $34.5 million for both the year 2020 and 2021, if we are to settle all of these. And so far, pending land claims for land exchange, there's 16 pendings. And also total dollar value for this 16 is about $167,000 and $171 respectively. So these numbers were raw numbers that my division director provided. I can formalize it into an official communication for submission to this August body.
Okay, so what's what's the status at this point in time for settlement on those that are still pending?
If they're pending, it means that we are either waiting for them to accept the offer, or in most of them, they are pending in probate, and then we have one that has accepted, and the other one is working with the lawyers, and it's making us look bad because we're waiting for them.
Okay, so let me ask one more question, Mr. Chair. In the inability of a land claimant to undertake the cost of probate, can the department assist the claimant to undertake the probate, and whatever the cost of this probate, when your department can undertake, be reduced from whatever compensation that the claimant will be receiving? Can that be done?
I will hold my response to that, Senator, because I need to consult with the regulations. Currently with that, I'm not very clear, but as we stated earlier, normally all these things comes to DPL once the agency like DPW, CRF, HBO, Fish and Wildlife has taken care of that area.
My concern is that, see if that can be done, and whatever compensation after helping them with their probate costs, that whatever monetary cost can be reduced.
I think we've had most of them have been settled on the resolution, but whether we will pick it up, I'm not sure whether that's what will happen, but I'll refrain from saying.
That's why I like you, Acting Secretary, because nothing that we ask that you will not do. So please continue to do what the committee had asked you to look into, whether it can be done or cannot be done. So we can take another avenue of resurrecting a system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Right, recognize Vice President Senator Constantino.
This is Marcy, Chairman. Good afternoon, Acting Secretary, and to all who are present this afternoon. I have some comments to make. You still have two public hearings to go, one in Tinian and one in Saipan, and I also echo the request of Chairman O'Cook that if he can separate the land compensation and perhaps settle for the senatorial districts. And I also would like to suggest if you can get in touch with the Secretary of Public Works and inquire if my comment is correct, that highway public funds can be used for land compensation for right of ways. Would appreciate it that can be done. And also the land use plan for the DPL was done since I think last year or 2 years ago. And I'm very curious whether the homesteading planning are based on the public land use plan or not. Public land spend so much money to come up with the public land use plan. So I recommend that in all senatorial districts that we use that document for the planning of state program. I would like to also request that when you talk about homesteads, that you give us the separation between a village homestead and an agricultural homestead, for Lola and Tinian and Saipan. I don't think there's any agricultural homestead that are being proposed. The recommendation that I would like to request is eviction notice for issuance of permit. I understand that when we get to site plan, we will be more specific on this one. That if I can come up with how many eviction notices were issued by respective senatorial district, and how many issuers of permits have been issued, and we will talk more about this and how we can amend the regulation to prevent further eviction of a notice for homesteading, village homesteading program due to the lack of home because of the inability of the government to provide the basic, which is the power and water. With the ARPA funds and with the NMH CDBGDR, we have, that's why I'm asking for the eviction notices, particularly by senatorial district, because the CDBGDR is an opportunity for these homesteaders that were issued the village homesteader permits and then were evicted, and now they can take opportunities on the CDBGDR to construct homes. We're going to talk more detail that one when we get to site plan and hopefully opinion also. And also can you separate the cost of infrastructure by, for example, water, sewer, and power? So there are, for example, in Rhode Island, it's so difficult to have and it's not realistic at this time to have the sewer in there in order to carry on with the other two infrastructures, which is water and power. I appreciate that can be, those information can be made available. And this also, at a later date, Acting Secretary, there are so many regulations in public land that I believe were enacted to make it harder for people to get a homesteading program, and also to fail in constructing a home because of the lack of infrastructure. Later on, we're going to be looking at the regulations of public land. If there's a need to change some of the regulations to make it easier for our people, especially those who are staying in the Sierra, to be able to live its homestead. And also, I would like to see the prioritization of the village homesteading program. I understand that even, I think in all the senatorial districts, there are homesteaders that were given the opportunity to have homesteads in, I think, all the three senatorial districts. But actually, yes, they're entities, but they're not residing in a particular senatorial. Just because they're entities, they applied and they were given, and once they got it, either they sold it or they built a house and they left and had that house at least out. If you take a look at it and see if we're lacking a lot of numbers in terms of village homesteading. talk more on that issue. And also, in terms of land exchange, Chairman Oko mentioned that one of the reasons why there's no more land is because of the land exchange from TN and Roda. So, can you take a look at in terms of land exchange? Because the land exchange years back, it's, I think, dependent on the landowner, okay? They exchange it for 110, okay? You take by so many, maybe one house lot that is needed for the highway in road or union, but it will be 10 times in cycle. So when you're doing land exchange now in the future, can you take a look at that and make sure that no longer happens that the landowner wants 10 more as the size of his land is allowed to do that? Those are some of the issues that I think still moving in our heads. And also, my last comment, and we discussed this, as mentioned earlier, and this is really difficult, especially for a landowner to come to DPL and say, I have this issue with my land. There's something that way back in the 90s, taken by the government for public purpose. But we all forgot about these people. And all the real landowners were dead. And now you have the grandchildren, and they don't know anything whether they need to protect this or this and that. So my recommendation, Acting Secretary, is if a landowner comes to your office and say, I have this land, so and so, and it involves public works and CRM, please make the initiative to call these two other agencies and sit down with the 4 of you, 3 of you, including the public land or the landowner, and discuss this and see what can be done to expedite the settlement of these pending issues in terms of public lands. Because now it is a very common knowledge in Cyprus that they blame public land. All the public works is holding the certification for public purpose. But I think public land should make an initiative to sit down with DPL and once and for all discuss all these certification issues that need to be expedited and see if public highway funds can be used rather than waiting for the government to appropriate funds for land compensation due to the need for federal highway. So I ask that you please take notes of that, and so that we can expedite and help people. You were there in our office at review, we wrote that ticket, and if you cite on the landowner, you've been waiting, for settlement. And if we allow the lawyers to go into this, we have seen this happen from 3 million to almost 20 million of settlement, and we had to struggle to find money to pay for this. And even here, Roland dealt with an attorney who sued DPO for encroaching into private property and building a government facility. And they went to court for a settlement, and it cost us more to do this rather than working with the public land and the landowners to settle all these things that we can. And also, I suggest that because landowners will say, you want my land, I want $3 million, even if it's only 30 square meters. So I think think it's incumbent upon public land to make these individuals or landowners understand that thinking no longer should be carried on. It is required appraisals, and what the appraisals say the value of the land, I think that should be it. That should be negotiated. And I hate to say this, but our Constitution says that the governor can eminently make any land that is needed for public purpose. But there's only one governor that did that. But it didn't go through because it does not mean that the governor issued an eminent domain for public purpose from a private land. The government will take it. No, it has to come with a place value, money to pay. If the money was not paid, then the eminent domain is no longer valid. And there's several cases this happened, but only that I know, only the late governor Fremont did that for a road, for some roads in Cyprus. But the government did not make the money available at that time. And the eminent domain issue was so that will be my comment for this afternoon, and we will give you the opportunity to collect as much information as possible. And the last public hearing is in Cyprus, and I think we have bigger issues in Cyprus than for anything.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I'd like to recognize Senator Neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Mr. Somo, and everyone here present today participating in this public hearing. I had one question to ask you, but it was answered at great length. I wanted to inquire about some of the issues in your outreach with respect to the island of Road specifically, and the different issues that they are dealing with regards to public land. But not only did our good Senator Hope expound on that, but also the community at large. So I would like to thank them for their engagement in this hearing today. It's very clear that a lot of the challenges that we face throughout the CMI are very similar with regards to public land, but these solutions are all unique. I would ask you to continue to keep open lines of communication with not only us, the legislature, but with your supervising staff at DPL, as well as the respective resident director heads at senatorial districts, Tinning and Rhode. With that being said, I do have some questions, but I'll reserve those until our next hearing on Tinning. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Neighbors. And again, good afternoon. Peace with everyone. And generally, it's a very lengthy discussion. Very serious matters that needs to be discussed in regard to public land, especially homestead and issues and agricultural homestead. And I have a lot of concern and questions, but I'll reserve it for the other here. But I would like to ask just a few, because I know there is another public coming out of this. So just say that a bit fine for the next public hearing. But in regards to regulation of ours here in the Republic of Vietnam, I don't know, it's just new in this department, and as we always, when we ask, we always limit questions to a person that just, new to the department. But because you are a very understanding and very committed person to share concern and that we can issue, I know that people can do that. So, you know, I know it's not the same as the others, that we always resolve questions because there's just new business or that department. But I believe that, you know, you can absorb question and concerns from this committee. And we understand also that we need to, you know, to go over some of the area, you know, of the DPL regulation and you know. But in regards to homestead and agriculture, in regards to application, and I've learned that there's a lot of applicants, but limited numbers. Is that the policy or the regulation of the people to continue to accept application, although it is limited not for that particular homestead or agricultural homestead? Is that the most important that this department you know, doing, accepting so much application, but it is very bad?
I think currently, Senator, there's no more opening of applications to receive any of these. And just to look back what DPL did, I'm sure they opened up the application and received a lot more than the lands because they have to go through a vetting process. But I think that's what transpired. What in the regulation is saying that they should keep opening it. I'm not sure, I can look into it, but I don't believe it's open. There's no homestead application open at the moment. Not on time. Moratorium.
So, if nothing has happened, just, you know, look into the policies that are allowed, you know, applicants and, you know, just looking at the, or knowing that there's a lot of applicants applying, but they need a lot to give up. So, just wondering if that, if those applicants that did not, you know, get that, how do you go about in explaining to applicants that do not get a lot, either homestead or homestead? I'm just saying this because, you know, I know there's a program for the limited land, between the land and not continue to accept application when in fact we don't, unless still is planning to request or open another area. But I know some local districts that reserve 50% of the available land for homestead and agriculture and 50% for economic development. So I guess we still have, but if it was the law that we have now, I should mention or some mention that the reason why these laws are not fully, you know, or the applicants haven't developed yet because it's in regards to sending resources of communities. So can you look into that and maybe perhaps the other opinion we can discuss further on that matter. And also in regards to, I don't know if they have here in Rhoda, but we have issued in regards to 1 hectare and 1.5. Some are claiming additional 1.5 because they believe they're entitled to that, and I believe we have a list on that. And there's a concern from the general public or the applicants union that why they're not receiving the 1.0, and those that have received already the 1.0 continue to receive 1.5. So I understand the, you know, the concern of those that haven't get any yet. So I'm not saying that we're not going to give them what they're entitled to, but can we cross out the 1.0 before even giving the 1.5? Can you look into that? How we can, you know, resolve that, you know, everything. We're not DPL, they keep coming to us and, you know, seeking assistance from us to address it to also, like I said, I will serve the other concern, the question that was raised on we do the public hearing on the 3rd. So since this is the first senatorial district, we gave the chairman of COP the opportunity to in the beginning, and I want to ask whether he still have issue or concern for the other board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the last opportunity. I know that we are bound with other public hearing, other committee. But I'd like to request, strongly request, I think Secretary, as you await your confirmation process, to see if we can, if the office can expedite the relocation process of these homesteaders if we are to put closer looking. So I am not yet quite sure whether the relocation need legislation. And I want to take this opportunity to expedite any legislation required for relocation of another village homestead so that these people can take advantage at this point in time to avail for the opportunity on either CDB, CDR loan opportunity to build their granny house and take advantage of the low interest rate and most likely a good rating of payment can be done to make relief from the balance of their loan if their payment is consistently updated. So I need to ask your office if we can expedite this request. I don't know the timetable for this infrastructure or loan opportunity to our residents will be close, and but I like these applicants to take advantage of this opportunity for loan, building their homes or acquiring new homes. So, and also ensure that for those that want to relocate to sign, and for those that want to stay, can be allowed to remain in the area so that they can move forward to a real loan opportunity. And is that request so difficult to explain?
No.
Thank you. And that's what again, acting secretary, that I have no regret, to cast my vote because I know that you can do it and just do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You back to you.
Thank you. And before I proceed forward with our agenda today, can you just take note on this, acting secretary? Senate Bill 19-88 and became Public Law 20-05, and Senate Bill 21-10 and became Public Law 21-50, and Senate Bill 22-20. And I will be raising concern in regards to these two public law, and that will lead to Senate Bill 22-20 on the 30th. Thank you. You raise your hand, you want to say something else?
Yes, Senator. I believe if you are, I don't mean to just come in, but I wanted to state that for the people of Rota and to the end, I believe even before I was delegated the acting secretary capacity, I was already approached by a lot of individuals. So the assurance that I am making for myself as a commitment to the people of Tinian and Rota, I'm saying that because, I'm most of the time in Saipan, is at least pre-scheduling 45 to 60 days of being present here on Rota within those number of days to be here and to listen to the people of Rota. And initially I would presume on my first visit back to these people of Rota, is to give them a general understanding of public lands and where we are on gaps. And I'm saying this because I can really share with their sentiments. I truly believe that as they were talking and saying their concerns, it almost sounds like a really, really bad dream. They're in a dream, and they're deep in space, and as you know, space is really dark, and there's no bottom, up, left, or right. And so they're lingering, and they're not sure what's next. And I'm sure that if they try to figure out what's next, they first really need to ground themselves, and that's my role, to ground myself to be able to understand where we are with all these issues. They're lingering, they may look like they're taken care of or not taken care of. But at the same time, if we start grounding ourselves, we'll start figuring out that it's like layers of onions. There's just layers after layers of reasons and excuses that will be coming from us. But the idea is we're here to serve the people and be able to give them the best service, and that's what I'm looking forward to be able to assist them, and not just necessarily think outside the box. As we've stated before, a lot of us have overly used the word thinking outside the box, only to find yourself as doing another box. So for me, fundamentally, is hopefully removing all excuses, but I do know that DPL requires a lot of help. Really requires a lot of help and support from the legislature. We're talking about FTE, number of employees. I'm sure that the past secretaries have done their best to try and do programs and tasks, but you know, back then I'm sure it's the best thing, best decisions, but now in hindsight looking back, maybe we're saying it's not the best. But I think they're just doing the best they could with what they have with respect to the resources. And now with MPLT on top of us, asking us for all the funds that we're collecting, it just basically will leave us with nothing to operate. But for me, I believe that Article 11 in the Constitution gave us authority to manage the land for the NMDs and public lands. And I believe that as much funds should be given to this department, we should trust this department and the staff and employees so that they can do their work. And my job now, coming in, is to have this realignment, fundamentals, assessment, to be able to hopefully provide a streamline. Yes, there's a lot of regulations, but even I get confused. And the last thing I need, just being upfront and honest to this group and being blunt, is I do not want to necessarily believe a director. If a director tells me I can't do that because of regs, I want to make sure that that's what the reg is. And if the reg is wrong, then we need to change it. Because I do believe in common sense. If common sense can unite the United States and become independent, I'm sure that if we use common sense, we can really help our people out. And I know the regs are there, but my role is to make sure that when it comes to policy decision making, it's a policy decision making whereby it can change the regs for the betterment of the people. And based on the Senator's concerns, I really feel you, I really understand, and I just want to make sure it can work. And that's what I mean by yes, yes, yes. I'm not saying yes, yes, yes because I'm a yes man, but I'm saying yes, yes, yes because otherwise, if it's never written and or acted upon, it will never happen and it will be lingering forever. Just once.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Our next Vice President.
My last comment, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, please take note on the annual funding that you just mentioned earlier that you need more funds for the DPL. The legislature does not budget DPL. It is DPL who puts in the budget of how much they need for the year. And what we're putting in the past is not enough. It's not our fault in the legislature because what is in the budget is just for information purposes. So please re-examine that, see your needs. The fiscal year is coming up, and if you need 5 million, so you then need 5 million so you can accomplish all the things that the public, to address the public concern on many of these issues. Now, I have one question. You don't have to answer this. Maybe you need to take a look at this. There's a $1 million that was settled with, I think, Mariana's Resort and IPI with public land. And according to the past Secretary of DPL, Secretary Ghetto, that money is not public land lease money. So in her belief, that $1 million cannot go to MPOP. So my question is, can we find out what happened to that $1 million? $1 million, Senator? Maybe we can use that for some of the activities that we are mentioning earlier. Thank you. You don't have to answer it now.
Thank you, Vice President.
Oh, thank you again, Mr. Chairman. This is my last closing. And I just want to tell the acting secretary that, you know, your appointment is very timely and fortunate for DPL, and most especially also for the hiring of a new DPL Director Rhoda that can be of service to your leadership, and I am pretty sure that he will be in service and not to be in conflict with the department. As you may know, that the new director for DPL, Rhoda, has served DPL board, what do you call this, advisory board, and Rhoda now will be requiring one more advisory board, but I am still debating whether the advisory board is necessary or not, because I heard it in the past that if the secretary will not go for a meeting, then the advisory board is of no use. So I hope that if we are to continue with the advisory board, that you have the vision to go meeting and meet with the advisory board. Because in the absence of your goal, the board cannot meet. So just for food of thought, and I will welcome you for the new challenge as well as your director, Rhoda, and I'm very confident that you can work along together and expedite what we ask you, most particularly the concern for the Honorable Rhoda, so we can move these things forward and take advantage of the funding that can and will be made available, or we can acquire to provide DPL with the needed funding to ensure the movement of our awaiting service for the and this is, I promise, Mr. Chairman, this is my last, and I will not talk no more. Thank you. I yield back to you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. This concludes the questions and concerns from the committee. At this time, all public comments are all taken. Let the record reflect that there are also written testimonies not meeting committee in support of the appointee before this committee, and will be included in the Senate Standing Committee recommendation report, along with all testimonies to be forwarded before the full Senate members in consideration for confirmation or rejection. At this time, before we join, I would like to extend on behalf of the members of this committee our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios' representative, Ms. Joaquina King, the appointee, Mr. Sixto K. Zumar, and also the Mayor of Rhoda, Mayor Efren, for giving us the opportunity to utilize this building, and most especially the members of the general public for your participation and involvement during this important public hearing process. And we certainly hope that we continue this dialogue of communication between us, the elected official, and the public to keep you abreast and informed of our current and future Senate hearings ahead that relates to public best interest. This concludes this public hearing for the EGI. Do I hear a motion for adjournment? Any second? Second. There's a motion for adjournment and was seconded. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. This public hearing is now adjourned. Thank you.